Welcome to another episode of Panel on Panels, the podcast about all things comics and comics related. I'm your host, John Campbell. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Mike Gergoni.
Greetings.
And Mr. Donovan Eilert.
Hello, everybody.
All right. We're back.
Give you a minute to just reaffirm with Donovan there.
Yeah.
Catch up with him.
You said we're back. People don't know that it's been a few weeks before we recorded.
Well, I was just saying, we're back. Well, I was just thinking
we're back for a
from,
week?
From last week.
It was a long week. If I
show them how the sausage is made, Donovan.
I mean, maybe it was just 3
Donovan,
weeks for
we
me.
do this show live every week.
Live? People should tune
that.
in?
Yeah. You can only listen to it when
You
we're
should
recording.
call in right now.
Whenever you're listening to it, that's when we're recording it. Mm-hmm. That's how podcasting
That makes
works.
sense.
Let the dream live.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair enough.
That's what people think, Donovan.
Even if you're looking right at me while you're listening to this, which would be a super weird experience, I got to think.
Just unbroken eye contact with you for the full hour, whatever.
I'm not sure if it's weird for you or weird for me. Either way, it's weird.
I've got some coworkers who say they'll listen to it, and then I'll walk by, and it's like, like
yeah. It's
very much
it's strange.
a 90s sitcom reaction of like, what?
But you're in my ear.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't. Why?
I'm Shatnering right now.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
What? But you're here and there and why? Spock.
They always call me Spock, and it's a hate crime.
Yeah.
Towards gingers or Vulcans, I'm not sure.
Both? Tall, thin people?
Look at hate crimes can affect multiple groups.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
The worst ones, in fact, frequently do. So today,
What are we talking about today, John?
Well, that got weird. Today we're specifically spotlighting the work of a man named Jonathan Case.
Who?
Jonathan Case.
Who?
Okay, how are we gonna do this bit?
Well, what happens is the audience hears the name 3 times now, John. It's a
And
marketing.
then we summon him.
He's like Beetlejuice.
like Beetlejuice.
Jonathan Case is very much like Beetlejuice.
Third time, there we got it.
Whoa,
There
hey.
There he is. Oh man, I really wish he was here on this episode for that. That would be the greatest introduction to a guest ever.
Squandered.
Yeah, I know. Now we can't do it because I just called it out. That's
Dang it.
We'll cut this out. No, we won't because you're listening to it. But we're talking specifically about Jonathan Case, who's a super talented artist.
Author.
And author as well. But people may know him as an artist from things like Batman 66 or The Green River Killer.
Also, the two things we've talking about today.
There's another book. Yes, but I wanted to tell you. There's... So you may know him as an artist from those things, but he's also a writer artist, and he's done
Cartoonist.
Cartoonist. Yes,
Is that the term for the writer artist?
He was a cartoonist before you did.
he was a cartoonist. Yeah, I don't think that. Yeah, I wouldn't call Frank Miller a cartoonist.
Oh, I would.
To his face.
You cartoonist, you.
Yo, Frank, I like all those cartoons you're doing.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd take that really well. But no,
He doesn't know where he is. He'll think I'm made up anyways.
Jonathan Case obviously has done some work in a broad spectrum of things, but we want to specifically focus on the books that he did as both writer and artist, which is 2011's Dear Creature and a brand new release.
Yes.
Just came out. You can pick it up in stores now or online because if you're listening to a podcast, you probably buy a lot of stuff online as well.
Well, at least you have access to the internet. That's all we really know.
That's what we think.
Before we
Support
get
your
going,
local comic book shops.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we get going, I would say that we highly recommend both of these books.
Absolutely.
And that if you haven't read them, we're going to spoil some stuff.
Yes.
So the brief summary is they're excellent. Mm-hmm. Read them, come back.
Those aren't summaries.
That's the summary. Excellent.
So, yes, Dear Creature and
The New Deal.
The New Deal by Jonathan Case. If you don't want those spoiled for you, stop now, go out, get them, read them, and then come back.
And absolutely do those things. Okay.
Welcome back.
We're back. Now we are back. From
That's
however long it
appropriate.
took you to read these. So what's interesting about what we're talking about specifically today is that Dear Creature was Jonathan Case's debut graphic novel, and then New Deal is obviously his most recent work.
Right.
So we are looking at
Kind of the bookends.
Yeah, at the moment. I mean,
Right.
hopefully he continues doing stuff.
Well, sometimes you have a middle bookend, John, kind of to like hold things down, and hopefully that's New Deal. And then somewhere else down the line, we'll get that other bookend.
Yes, okay.
It's kind of like Jason Todd. He's the middle bookend,
Right.
for a long time.
Middle book.
You know,
Yeah.
And then you realize he's unnecessary, so you smash him.
Yeah.
The bookend, I mean.
Yeah. Though we would not say that about the New Deal.
No.
No.
But let's start by talking about Dear Creature, which I said came out in 2011 from Tor.
Yes, it's a
Publishing?
Tor published book.
Yeah,
More famous for their novels than their graphic novels.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, as it's printed, it's more in a. I'm always fascinated by how they determine the size of these things,
Because there's kind of a standard like size for trade paperbacks from the big two.
Right.
But every other publisher, it's kind of like, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like Dark Horse, Image. They're maybe not Dark Horse so much, but Image is also fitting in
Pretty
more
standard,
with that.
yeah.
But the thing I particularly think of like Oni as doing a lot of.
They do a lot
size.
of different sizes. You see it a lot in like self-published, like with graphic or web comics, when they end up publishing their work in the like volumes as they do a lot of the time. It'll be just like scattershot size.
Yeah, well, Donovan, you and I were hanging out in Floating World Comics just last night, and we were looking at a whole bunch of self-published stuff that were a wide variety of shapes and sizes.
I saw one that was about 4 inches tall and about 16 inches wide.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, how does this fit on a shelf? I don't.
Very
Right.
carefully.
Well,
Right.
I don't think it does. I think is the answer.
It just is.
I think it's a marketing thing to make sure that it has to stay on
goes
your coffee
onto the
table
coffee
because
table,
yeah,
yeah.
it cannot fit on a shelf.
so. To talk a little bit
Dear
about
Creature does in fact fit on a bookshelf.
Yes,
though.
it does.
Do not be worried.
It's just slightly smaller than a normal like trade paperback from the big two.
I feel like it matches size. This is a weird discussion to get into about the size of books.
we
but
have
it,
to.
it matches size
It,
with
it,
like,
it was a conversation that was inevitable on this podcast.
right. But like the slightly larger trade paperbacks that you see, not like the pocket trade paperbacks, but the slightly larger ones.
Yeah.
You see, it's about that size.
Yeah, it's a good size.
Yeah, it's a good sized book.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't kill a man with it, but you know,
No.
Well, you could if you're good.
I suppose. Yeah,
Not just by the sheer weight of it. Though.
Sure.
You
That's-
got
that's an
there's some
artful
there's some more
book
skill.
kill.
Yeah. So for
This
those-
book is incredible.
Yes, I was going to say it's for those who have longed for the combination of Creature from the Black Lagoon and William Shakespeare.
I know I have.
I cannot believe that this was a first graphic novel that he
Yeah.
did. Like, I mean, not only is it so masterfully created, but the story is so original and so bizarre and just wonderful that I was reading and thinking, this guy's a seasoned pro.
Well, there's a pulp quote here from Derek Kirk Kim, who's an Eisner winner for The Eternal Smile. And his pulp quote is, an impressive debut. I dream of a world where every cartoonist's first graphic novel is this accomplished.
Yeah.
Which is true, yeah. It's so clear in its vision, in the execution of it. Like,
For those who don't know,
wonderful.
Dear Creature is a book about a like creature from the Black Lagoon type like mutant underwater creature who's all about eating like lustful teenagers.
Yeah.
And he learns ostensibly it seemed like he learned to speak English from these pages of Shakespeare that he found
Yeah.
in like Coke bottles that got thrown into the ocean.
Yeah. So he speaks in Shakespearean.
He
kind
speaks
of.
in iambic pentameter, yeah.
Yeah. I
Which-
didn't check, but is it actual iambic pentameter? I'm assuming it is.
Most of the time.
I think he does most of the time. I don't think the crabs do.
No,
No,
the
they
crabs
don't.
Yeah.
But however, at the back of the book, the crabs explain iambic
He's
pentameter.
the black creature whose name is Gru,
Mm-hmm.
is our main character of this story, and he does have a couple of crab sidekicks that are following him around.
yeah.
well,
they're
they aren't following him. They seem to live on him,
Yeah, they're kind of like scavengers.
And
Yeah.
they're very silly. They're
Very
very silly crabs.
and they're just on board to eat teenagers.
They just want, they want to pick up what he's
Enough
putting down.
with the flowery romantic Shakespeare stuff. Let's just eat some hormone,
Well, in the
driven
beginning of this,
teenagers.
they're trying to convince him to eat, and he's like saying, "I'm done. I'm done with all of this."
Yeah.
And then, of course, hormones take over. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a theme that runs throughout. That when those hormones are released, that he's almost like can't stop.
Right.
This there's like a Jekyll Hyde kind of thing inside this monster.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
which makes for very compelling plot points.
But
like.
he ends up finding the woman who's throwing these Shakespeare pages
Yeah.
into the ocean and falling in love with her, and she falls in love with him. So it's a romance story.
Yes,
Absolutely, it is.
Yes.
It's
Star-crossed lovers.
yet another. There's some great pull quotes on here because I love that we're just Jean Luen Yang, who did American Born Chinese, which is a great graphic novel. He has the pull quote on the front here, which is, he says, one of the quirkiest and most surprising love stories you will ever read. And it's a great book. You just held up American Born Chinese. It's a fantastic book. But yeah, he said one of the quirkiest, most surprising love stories you will ever read, and I could not agree more. I'd never thought of this as a premise for something, certainly, but these are the books I love when it's just like, man, you never thought about, like, what if the creature... Because if you actually watch that first Creature from the Black Lagoon, he did have some kind of attraction to the woman, I think.
No, and the same is true with things like Frankenstein, things like King Kong. This is a pretty classic creature who's bound by his monstrous form, but is trying to make some kind of connection to
but
civilization.
What I like about this one, though, is it's so with the Shakespearean stuff, the character's so much more defined, and, and the internal logic of it more than like I can grasp what King Kong wants, but I don't really care for him in a certain way, or I can only connect to him so much where it's like, oh, that's too bad that they killed him, but it's not. I don't really want him to get the girl or whatever.
But seeing this,
I don't know. In Peter Jackson's King Kong, I was kind of rooting for King Kong.
But you kind of read this book through the lens of having seen some of those monster movies.
Oh, definitely.
Where you understand why the people are reacting the way they do to this monster.
He is killing teenagers.
That is one thing I could not escape throughout this whole book is, at the end of the day, he has killed and eaten lots of teenagers, we are led to believe.
But he feels bad about it.
He's done with it.
Okay, so
he's moved past it.
spoilers. At the end of the book, he does end up getting together with the woman, and they like sail off into the sunset.
Yes.
How does he survive if he's not eating teenagers?
Well, is it implied that he needs to eat the teenagers to survive?
That's all we ever see him eat.
That's all we ever see him eat, but that doesn't. I don't get the sense he's driven by that. But maybe he could just eat other stuff. And
I think at one point in the book we see him like licking like a turtle. Is like, could I eat this? And he's just like, no.
Yeah, it's because a turtle's disgusting. I
don't know. He's eating raw teenager. I can't assume that's any better.
Yeah, he's a sea mutant, though.
But what I'm saying is there's no point where he's like, you see him weakened or whatever by not eating teenagers.
It's true, yeah. I don't know what sustains this crazy sea mutant.
He doesn't have like a vampire kind of thing.
No, it's true.
I mean, there's a part where the crab asks him if he's peckish, but it's just, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if he just had some nice chicken or something, he'd be all right.
Get some Popeye's chicken.
Yeah.
It's implied that they'll figure that out.
Is it implied?
Yeah.
As I open this,
I don't think the implication at the end of the book is, oh, by the way, he's going to kill again.
Here's the interesting thing, though. He's this monster, but the way that Case draws him, he's very friendly looking.
He doesn't have like teeth. He's kind of got like weird, like I took it as like a kind of a chitinous mouth. Like it's just kind of like clacky.
Yeah. And
he looks like a Henson creation. This would be an amazing Henson movie.
He's got this big mouth, and he's got these big eyes,
and a brain sticking out of his head.
Yeah, but almost always a smile on his face. I mean,
what I always found super interesting about the character throughout the whole book is that his eyes are just these black pits in this like kind of skullish like face that he's had got.
Yeah.
And despite that, he's one of the most expressive characters in the book.
Oh, absolutely.
Despite not having like pupils. And
and that's something you find both through this book and the New Deal.
I was just going to say
the work and expression that Jonathan Case does is second to none. I mean, he is killing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, beyond. I mean, you can it comes through all the emotions of everybody.
He's right up there with like Fiona Staples in terms of just I'm getting the emotionality of these characters directly through what's being shown.
Yeah, exactly.
Two comments on that. One, John and I were able to go to the release party for New Deal.
Yes,
and he had some of the original pages up on the wall, but without all the text bubbles, and you could tell the exact story they were telling without any of that. It could have almost been a silent book in a way, which is beautiful. And second, I think Gorgoni, you just brought up a point I never thought of. I know they've already picked a few people to succeed Fiona Staples on Archie. Jonathan Case could be doing that comic.
Oh, unquestionably.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, looking at stuff in like Batman 66 and then looking at that expression, just the use of body language throughout the whole thing, it would be awesome.
I mean, that's really skills, and why it makes sense that they would give him something like Batman 66, where we are so used to having we've seen these actors actually play these parts and express. So to be able to bring that into comics makes complete sense to get a guy who has that ability.
Yeah. Anyways, we can go back. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, because it's not the easiest job to be like, well, I not only have to draw Batman, I have to draw Adam West Batman.
Right. I have to draw the Joker with a weird mustache that's been painted over.
Things, yeah.
Well, and what's
but
great about
also to capture, you have to capture. It's not the Joker. You don't get to do your take on the Joker.
No.
You have to do Cesar Romero's take on the Joker.
But the brilliant thing about that too is his work through that. And I know we're talking about these novels he's done, but in Batman 66, he's bringing what could easily be like a copy and paste sort of style to it, but he breathes so much life and warmth into these characters that it feels like episodes of the show that never got released.
Oh, absolutely.
But it also doesn't feel like
it's still
he's phoning it in. I mean, it feels
it's still Jonathan Case
rendered beautifully.
It's still clearly the guy who did
That
this
Catwoman,
and did the New Deal.
There's a famous Catwoman where she's like laid out in this long pose. It's just like, this is one of the most beautiful pieces of art I've ever seen, let alone in an awesome comic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? With that like pinkish, reddish hue behind her?
I almost bought it
It's so
at
good.
Rose City Comic Con.
I've never thought about putting a Catwoman print up in my house until I saw that, and I was like, well...
Yeah. Well, we do have a Jonathan Case print up in our house, though.
Yes, we do.
Which we got at the New Deal release party.
Yes.
Nice. What I love about his art, though, and it's something that one of our friends pointed out to me, was that from a distance, you get a really clear image of what his art is. Like, you get just at first glance, you get all the details you need about what needs to be told. But if you take the time to like look at each panel, look at the art, there's details that you're picking up constantly that is like really, really impressive. Yeah. And I noticed that through both Dear Creature and the New Deal. And just like if you take the time to appreciate each panel, it's like, oh, there's all these little details that I love picking out.
Oh, absolutely.
Dear Creature is a great example of that. Just the cover of this book. It has a very classic, like, oh, there's the creature holding the woman. But then you give it a second, like, glance, and it's like, but the creature is pretty happy, and the woman's
very
not
happy.
like the voluptuous teenager you're used to. Because, like, at first glance, it looks like the poster from, like, Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
With the creature, like, clutching the young woman.
Right.
But second glance, like, oh, the woman's a little bit older, and she's actually looking at him. Like,
she's not
looking at him
passed out.
lovingly.
No, exactly.
She's kind of stroking his chin. I mean, it's there's real affection between them.
But I love that of like the first glance you get information of just like, oh, creature, woman. There's like,
right.
But then you can take the time and pick out those details.
Well, because
really impressive.
Because in this, he's dealing with very classical pop culture sort of imagery of these specific. I mean, the book doesn't state what year it is, but it has this 1950s monster movie vibe to it.
Definitely.
Hence, I mean, obviously, Creature of the Black Lagoon. And I mean, like the police in it, and the sort of the boardwalk that they're around has that teen beach movie.
It's kind of got a beach blanket bingo sort of vibe to it.
Yeah.
Plus the Creature from the Black Lagoon. Like there's tons of old like 50s movies that I've seen through like Mystery Science Theater and stuff that definitely harken back to this vibe.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
I love the design when he is coming out of the water to interact with people in the real world. He puts on this old diver's helmet and suit. Oh man, it's such a classic, cool look. And he's like coming out of the water, and people are like giving him the stare. But because they can't see he's a monster, it's just like, oh, that's some weirdo in a suit. And he steals a horse. And I mean,
I love all the side characters in the book.
Oh yeah,
like the police officers.
I love the new police officer who keeps losing the horses. Yeah, that guy's so good.
That's the thing. Like the book is. It's a comedy, but it's not a parody. Even though he's playing on tropes, it's still so because the thing I think people misuse the word parody a lot to me, or at least the way I define it, because a parody to me implies a lack of sincerity to a certain extent.
Yeah,
a satirical.
I don't want this to become a discussion of like the meaning of parody. I might disagree with you a little bit where that's concerned.
Sure.
But do you agree through the definition, or do you disagree through what it's become? And the way we use the term parody.
I think a parody can still be sincere in that it's trying to like work on the tropes heavily. And like, would you say a movie like Spaceballs isn't sincere?
I would say it's not sincere.
I feel like
not as a story.
But
this is turning into that conversation.
Sure, yeah.
Well, I mean, okay.
But I'm just saying, like this is a very human, dramatic story.
Sure,
but
I wouldn't call it a parody because it's not it's working on tropes. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily parodying something specific.
Right. Exactly. And it's like I said, it's such a nice. So I was trying to turn this into a discussion of tone, which is like it's very funny, but it's not necessarily a comedy.
No.
Because
It's a rom-com.
You call this a rom-com?
It's a creature rom-com, I would say.
Okay.
with some horror elements.
Yeah, a little bit. Again, I could never shake the this is a cannibal monster that these people are interacting
Well, a
with.
cannibal is not human.
Yeah, he's a sea mutant.
The implication that I got, especially at the end of the book, when the crabs were like, "How do you know how to sail and ride a horse and stuff?" That he was maybe human at once.
Well,
You think so?
Yes.
They keep the origins of Gru fairly vague. We know he's an experiment of some sort because we see that.
Also, we're not talking about Despicable Me Gru, just in case people were
Right? No, not that Gru.
get that image out
This
of
is
your
not.
mind.
This is not a tie-in.
This
comic
is
with
not
Despicable Me.
You
Steve
Are Alone in the
Carell.
Dark Gru either. Like,
Yes.
Right. So
horrible fangs of a slathering Gru.
but
Yeah.
we know he's some kind of science experiment gone wrong. Obviously,
Is he?
isn't he?
We don't know.
We don't know.
I thought there was.
He's described as sea mutant.
well, don't
Right.
they get a hold of him, the scientist, near the
yeah,
end?
but I don't know.
But they're just like super excited because they're like, "Ooh, something new to play with." And there's that one mustachioed scientist who's just like, "This is going to be my ticket to the top."
Yeah. Yeah. That guy's great.
But I mean,
I love a good mad scientist.
I guess we'd have to ask the person who wrote this, but it could be implied that he was somebody that had escaped, and getting him back is like, yes, now we can proceed on with this.
I didn't read it as that implication. I read it as like he was some guy who got mutated because he's living in the wreck of a nuclear sub.
Which is awesome.
So I thought that kind of like led into his mutation a little bit, but that's just maybe the sci-fi nerd in me.
Which actually, the scientist, I thought, does he have kind of a Gene Wilder,
Yeah.
and,
Oh,
Young
definitely.
Frankenstein
Oh,
vibe
yeah.
to him?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of parody, because I just happened to be flipping through here and seeing that.
Would you call
and I
that
went,
movie not sincere? I'm sorry to get back to this. Young Frankenstein?
I think that movie's more sincere than Spaceballs.
I agree
sure.
with that.
Spaceballs was maybe a bad one to go to right from the get-go.
Well, okay, then, I mean, without having this conversation, where would you put Robin Hood Men in Tights? That's
in the Spaceballs camp.
in the Spaceballs camp.
More in the Spaceballs camp. But
I agree that Young Frankenstein.
Silent movie, I put on the Young Frankenstein camp.
Yeah.
we're just talking about Mel Brooks movies. There
I
are
know
other parodies
well,
out there.
well, I know, but he's
But
kind
I
of
think-
an accessible.
I think
sort of
within
thing.
within Mel Brooks, you can see actually the line that I would sort of draw, because Young Frankenstein, in some ways, could just be part of the Frankenstein canon.
I suppose.
I mean, I don't necessarily view it as that, but I mean, like, it's kind of just it's kind of just a funny Frankenstein movie, as
Sure.
opposed to being a specific parody.
but it still has
per
the
se.
heart of all
Yes.
the other ones.
That's what, yeah.
and a
Anyway,
snazzy
sorry.
dance number.
Which makes everything better.
We digress.
With the exception of Temple of Doom.
All right.
Listen to that.
All
podcast.
right. So
Well, here my question for you guys, and maybe we should talk about this a little bit more before. Do we want to give an overview of both and then kind of go through the stories of both of them at the same time, or do we want to go through all the way through Dear Creature, exhaust that one, and then talk about the New Deal?
Let's go through Dear Creature. I really,
Okay.
especially considering this is the one that's like fresher in my mind. I finished reading it just before we started recording.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I really, really like this book.
yeah, you were saying that when you came in. I love this book too. I had read this book not when it came out, but a few years ago. I picked it up because I had really liked his work on Batman '66 and saw he had this.
Well, I've always loved the concept of the eloquent monster or the elegant brute. You see that a lot. Like, it's a very strong motif through a lot of fiction of just like the big horrible thing. Like, it's either a huge guy or a big horrible monster, but can speak eloquently and like is a little bit in touch with his emotions and is able to express that, yes, I'm monstrous in some fashion, but that doesn't necessarily make me a monster per se. Even though, again, this thing has killed and eaten teenagers.
Well, that's
I
what-
cannot give this up.
And that's something I feel like.
You and this monster have such a love-hate relationship.
Look, I'm in full support of him killing and eating teenagers. I just don't know why everyone else is okay with it in this book.
I mean, they're not. I don't want to say they're okay with it.
I mean, there's an entire part where they hunt him down.
Sure. Okay. I don't know why the main female character,
Julieta?
is okay with the fact at the end of like she finds out that he has killed and eaten teenagers. I don't know if she knows he's eaten them, but she knows that he's killed teenagers.
Yes.
Sure.
And at the end, they're still like, "But we love each other." Sail off into the sunset.
Well, but
Look,
they're
everybody's got flaws.
just happens to be eating
That's the
people.
that's the message.
Yeah, I guess.
To a certain extent.
No,
because
it's
she's
true.
kind of kooky.
She's
No,
locked
yeah, yeah.
herself.
She's agoraphobic.
We haven't talked about her
Yeah.
so much as a character, but yeah, she's agoraphobic. Exactly. She's in this ship that's, or I mean, what's the word? Like
Sailboat.
like a derelict sailboat that's on land, and she's locked herself in the lower cabin of it.
Yeah.
And she won't come out.
No, because while we're following Gru, we're also following this pretty tragic story, actually, of these two sisters, Julieta and what was it? Zola. Which I kept thinking she needs a robot face in her stomach.
She did. You didn't see that?
Oh yeah, no,
It's
I
in
missed
there.
that part.
It's subtle.
But
This also connects Captain America.
yeah. But these two sisters who had kind of left the old country.
Yeah.
It's Italy, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
After World War II, Zola fell in love with an English businessman sailor person, and her sister Julieta followed along, and as those two were heading towards the New World.
Yep.
But while en route, there was a falling out between the two.
Yes.
And he basically jumped ship when they got to port and abandoned them. Does it say where this story takes place?
No, I don't think so.
I kind of led to a.
I got like a Florida kind of vibe.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
like
what I got.
Florida,
as well.
Carolina, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Because that's very much where Creature of the Black Lagoon takes place. So I figured it's somewhere in that kind
Yeah.
of southern coast.
Sure. So yeah, these two sisters are kind of abandoned there. And Julieta kind of develops this agoraphobia. She
feels guilty because
Right.
she paid attention to this man. I don't remember his name.
Robert, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's right. Robert, when he was reading Shakespeare, and Zola was just not interested in that. And so there's this kind of discord that I think Julieta feels really responsible for. She feels like
Yeah.
I think she even says I was the one that drove that wedge in there.
Right, and then she feels guilty again because she's throwing these bottles to presumably to this guy, and then now Gru is intercepting them, and so she's like, "No, I've ruined the chance again because you got him."
Because she's throwing him out the window because he was an owner of this Coke bottle
Right.
kind
Yes.
of company. It's not Coke.
Kiki Cola. I
Kiki
believe.
Cola.
Cola is correct.
So she's hoping that he'll find these bottles and come back.
Right.
Which, he's long gone.
Oh, yeah,
The
it's-
ship is wrecked. He buys another ship and sails away.
Yeah, there's no chance of that. But she feels.
Would you be okay if Gru ate him?
Here's my crazy fan theory. Gru is him.
Whoa.
Oh.
His boat sinks. He gets crazy mutated by some kind of.
And he's in love with Juliet?
But the mutation process wipes his brain. But he knows that he's in love with her, and so he comes back. That was my crazy fan theory at the end of this.
I've never thought about that. That's very fascinating. It doesn't fall apart.
No, I think it works.
I mean,
There's
there's-
no evidence to the contrary.
Ugh.
There's no evidence supporting it or
Right.
contradicting it. So
That's why I labeled that under crazy fan theory. There
yeah,
you go.
that's fine.
So in a way,
yeah, so-
this is.
So she's sort of then in this sort of. I mean, she's a depressed person in this kind. I mean, I don't even know that she's agoraphobic so much as she's this is almost like a penance.
I think that's how she sees it.
Yeah.
I think that's manifested as agoraphobia and all
It's
the
become
other
that eventually,
psychological
yeah.
disorders she's suffering.
Yeah. But so that he's a creature who eats teenagers.
Teenagers, yeah, can't get over the effect on. He kills and eats teenagers.
Hey, it's not exclusively teenagers, but they do have a lot of hormones. So
But I was saying, it's really just this love story of these two kind of damaged people
Yeah.
who find each other,
Yeah.
which is really nice. And he of course sees it as in that grand romantic sense of a girl locked away somewhere,
Oh, yeah.
and he's the champion come to rescue her. I mean, when he takes her out on the date, but she wears the scuba suit. That's great stuff. There's some really nice, sweet moments between the two of them.
Oh yeah, I love how accepting she is of him almost immediately.
Yeah,
Of just she's heard his voice but hasn't seen him yet, and he's like, "Look, I'm gonna come out. It's not gonna be pretty.
Yeah.
I am aware of what I look like." He says it more flowery Shakespearean
Sure.
language.
yeah.
But when he comes out and reveals himself, she's just like, "You've revealed yourself because of your words, not because of your face."
Right.
yeah.
Right. And that's so nice.
No,
It's
so
it's
just
such a
like,
nice
aw.
book for as much.
Monster.
The truth is, as well, you don't actually see him murder anyone, which I think is key to this.
Well,
Yes.
but here's about the there's also a key
we
to
don't
the
we
story
don't
that we're
actually
not talking
see him
about.
kill and eat anybody.
True.
It is heavily alluded to.
Oh, yeah.
It says he says as much with the
no,
crabs.
they're not. But I think that's key to the
Yes.
tone. When we're talking about tone of this book, that would be a lot tougher to come back from.
Yes.
if we actually witnessed any of that.
Well, and the big plot point that we haven't talked about yet is at the beginning of this book.
Mm-hmm.
He's taking a woman up to the top of this lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say what for. I mean, we could think it's to eat her, or think it's because he's in love with her.
This is another woman,
he's-
not Julieta.
Yeah, not Julieta. He's very conflicted. It's some younger teenager woman, and he gets to the top, and she is freaking out about it, and falls off and is killed.
Yeah,
She's killed, and so they take the boy she was with.
because she had his jacket.
Yep, she had his jacket into custody. Well, the boy happens to be the son of Zola.
Yeah.
So there's the other issue that's going on is Zola's son is in prison because now everybody in the town thinks that he's killed all these women because it's implied that it's mostly women,
That have been killed and gone missing, yes.
which I don't know what that's all about, but
That's Gru's weird eating and killing of women.
I don't think it's like I don't know.
It's pretty heavily like.
All right.
He's done Creature of the Black Lagoon to all these people.
It's true.
Over the years.
He Black Lagooned them. Anyways, so there's an issue with that, and
Black Lagooned him good.
and there's this there's this cop who is very insistent that he's going to get Joe, I believe the
older son's
the
name,
older
yeah.
son, out of prison
yeah,
and clear him. And one of the things is Gru kind of misleads Julieta about, oh, that wasn't me that that killed that
Craw is the name of the cop.
Craw,
Yeah,
that killed that woman.
yeah. He's also seemingly the only competent police officer on the force.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a small
Henry,
boardwalk
right?
town.
I think it's Henry Craw.
Yeah,
And he's like, it's weird. They're in this weird boardwalk town, and he's wearing cowboy boots and rides a horse and has a rifle and a cowboy hat.
Oh, it's
Oh,
so
yeah.
cool.
Clearly, he came from Dakota and moved out here. And just
He's
like,
a man tracker.
he was living some kind of Longmire existence.
right, exactly.
Yeah,
And
which is
now,
awesome.
now he's
We got to
Which,
write
by
that
the way,
comic.
season 5 of Longmire right here.
moves to Florida.
Yeah, they got to be out of actual Longmire novels at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you also have this subplot, and of course, it's once again spoilers. We have that he's the father of
He's
Joe
secretly
with
the father
Zola.
of Joe, yeah.
yeah.
Which is he also the father of Bobby?
I don't think so. Zola is kind of, we're led to believe, is the town tramp.
Okay.
But
I mean,
they
She
have
sleeps
had-
around to get what she wants.
But they have had a continuing sort of casual relationship.
Yes.
So
secretly.
possibly, but they don't go into whether or not he's the father of Joe. And then we haven't really talked about Joe actually, who's just I
the
guess
son,
what-
he's barely in the book.
I do love at the beginning when they're on the beach and all that stuff's going down, and there's this big huge splash page that's actually a splash of water.
Yeah.
because they're like cuddling up, and it's just like all this beautiful like ocean and these bubbles and this whole swirling effect, and it just says "Oh Joe" at the bottom of it, but it's like this big huge page in the middle, and it's like we don't have to see that to know what's happening there. And then
They're getting funky.
Gru, when he smells the hormones and the crabs are singing barbershop quartet style about it, he flings a 6-pack of beer that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
That lures Joe out.
On a fishing line.
Yeah, which is
That
great.
lures him out so that he can get that girl.
That made me laugh
which
so much.
is so awesome.
Yeah, it's such a funny.
So what we know about Joe is that he's technically innocent, loves beer, and doesn't mind being promiscuous.
yeah,
That's pretty much all we know about it.
I just love. Yeah, he sees it, and his line is, "Oh man, that's totally boss."
Yep.
And then he swims out, and it keeps going. He's just like, "What the heck?" And he keeps
He
swimming.
keeps
Yeah.
swimming after the
Like
beer.
I love the.
I love the girl that he's with encourages him too. It's like, go get the beer, Joe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, grab it.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah, that's
And the beer that Gru like uses on the fishing line is clearly like some kind of
cheap lager.
it's like some kind of session
just
or
says
something.
lager.
Yeah,
Teenager
But it
fodder.
does look a lot like
teenager
session.
fodder.
Yeah,
It's teenager bait.
Yeah, that's right. But so I mean, we don't know much about
such a funny
Joe,
bit.
but you do kind of feel for him being, wrongfully accused, right?
I
Sure,
guess.
and he
I mean,
plays-
I wasn't like
he-
crying for
more
Joe
than
the
any-
whole
More
time,
than
but-
anything, he plays into Gru's like feeling bad about because Gru's slowly figuring out these connections to all these people all the time, and about like 2/3 of the way through the book, he's like, "Oh, someone innocent may
Right.
be at fault because of me," and he makes the decision to kind of turn himself in. to be like, I'm not going to stand while this kid is prosecuted for what I did. And that's what I will say about Gru, is like he has a clear moral compass.
Absolutely.
Despite the fact that he has killed and eaten many, many teenagers.
Yes.
Well, and then we get Bobby, who is the younger son of Zola and unknown man, sees Gru and Julieta leave the boat, and he alerts people like, hey, there's this monster, and the police catch up to him. Kra catches up to him, and he carries Julieta up to the top of the lighthouse on the outside because it's locked. And that's how she figures out, oh, he climbed to the top of this, and he's the one that killed that girl.
Right.
Not knowing that she kind of flung herself over the edge.
Right.
Man, that's good. And I love... Kra is so hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's so cool, and he like shoots the lock on the lighthouse. And I love when he gets kicked off the police force. He like takes his gun and the horse, and he's
Well,
just
doesn't he
like,
just quit? Does he actually get kicked off?
I think
He's like, if you don't stop this now, I'm going to take your badge. And he's like, I'd like to see you try.
yeah, that's true. I mean,
Yeah, it was right here. Was it? He says, "You going to take my badge? Really? I believe I can do you one better than that. To end one's association with such sweeping incompetence, that's a hard one. But here you are, Bert. Happy trails." He
so
slams the
awesome.
badge down. Yeah, I want to read a comic about this guy. This guy's
like I said,
badass.
the prequel to this, where he gets from wherever he's from to Florida,
He's like Montana, Dakota.
Montana. Okay,
Yeah, and then he just puts his cowboy hat on,
just rides off. It's so cool.
rides away like a.
And then
badass.
later he has to stop the because the new cop is trying to arrest somebody. What is he doing? He's trying to lock up Julieta
Yes.
because they're trying to have her committed.
Yes.
And
Which I didn't quite like understand that why.
Why they were having her committed?
Yeah.
I don't remember either.
Because up till this point, she was just locked. She was locked away inside of a boat, but it wasn't like she was being held prisoner.
Well, what happened? No, you know what happened is they all thought that Zola went crazy because she was ranting and raving about her son being innocent, and so they're like, "Well, we're going to take this woman away to a safer place because Zola's not safe, and it's probably not safe."
And she was, from their eyes, just the victim of a monster attack.
Yeah, exactly. So just go and
Craw does also bust out a harpoon gun.
This is
yes,
true.
and shoots Gru with it a couple times.
Yeah. Also pretty badass.
Oh, yeah.
Harpoon guns are always awesome, in my opinion. Just watch any 60s era James Bond
Or
movie.
play was Shark Tank Death Attack?
Shark Tank Deathmatch.
Deathmatch.
I do not recommend playing that
However, harpoon guns are awesome.
game.
harpoon guns are
But don't do that. You should just sprint and slash them with your knife. That's what we learned playing that game.
Do not play Shark Attack Deathmatch.
But apparently, if you do, that's the advice for it.
Come on, people.
So, is there anything else you want to say about Dear Creature before we turn?
Well, something, and this maybe is a transitional statement.
Okay.
I was talking to Gorgoni the other day about this. It feels like this would be a book or a movie that Gorgoni and myself would write. New Deal feels like a movie or a comic book that you and I would write, John.
Yes.
Now,
Right off the bat, yeah. I was going to say, right off the bat, when I saw even just the designs of New Deal, I thought, this is so up my alley.
yep.
Because I will say,
And the
first
one
things
you guys
first,
would write.
in New Deal, there are no weird sea mutants.
Right.
Well,
Did you not?
we don't know what Orson Welles is planning for that play. You never know.
Right off the bat, Orson Welles is in this
He's
comic.
in the comic.
Yes.
And
If you're a fan of Orson Welles, read this comic.
Because
he does make an appearance.
I got excited just when they mentioned the all-black Macbeth, just because I was like, that's Orson Welles' production.
Yep.
And then when Orson Welles actually shows
they
up,
so casually do that.
they also name-drop James Whale,
Yep.
one of my favorite filmmakers from the 1930s who made Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and The Invisible Man. Brilliant filmmaker. They mentioned that he's in the hotel as well, so I'm just like, no.
Yep. By the way, the movie or comic you guys will write together, I'm pretty sure it'd be Die Hard 4.
I heard 4?
Die
Really?
Hard 4.
Because I'm
Live Free or Die Hard?
I'm pretty sure it would be Guardians of the Galaxy.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, never mind.
That's just Die Hard in space.
Yeah.
That's true. That's the element you had, Gorgoni. In space. John's
I mean-
like, Die Hard. And Gorgoni's like, space.
Yeah,
So-
it's an 80s action
I've
movie
always
in
said
space.
everything is better in space.
True.
It's very true.
So as we turn now to the New Deal, like I said, it's out now. It just came out.
It's brilliant.
It's so good.
And big. I mean,
Yes,
beautiful, big hardcover,
oversized hardcover.
It is a gorgeous book to hold.
and blue and white and black. I mean,
Yes.
just the use of color and lack thereof in this is just perfect.
It's so interesting because Dear Creatures in black and white,
Yes.
as befitting that 1950s style.
Oh, yeah. No, it's
but
definitely
then New Deal isn't in black and white, but it's not in full color either.
No, and what he does is really
It's
interesting.
in a strange, like faded blue sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Well,
I'm not quite sure how to describe it.
What's interesting
No.
about this one, and you guys, I don't know how much you paid attention to this, he uses blacks, which are usually background and shading things, in every area of the panel. In the foreground, in the midground, and the background. He's using blacks. I mean, he's just, which is more of a cartoonist style of way of going
Yeah.
about things to accent them, and it's just.
Well, in both books, you can see that
incredible.
cartoonist background, and
Oh, yeah.
and I mean that in a very positive way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For
Well,
sure.
This is
everything's
not
got
like
kind
a
of life and
family
animation
circus.
to it, even when it's still on
Right.
the page.
Yeah, this is
Right.
not a family circus
Right.
cartoon that we're talking about.
Right? No, yeah.
Sorry, whoever wrote Family Circus.
I'm
Yeah.
really not.
Really not?
I mean, we're comparing art styles.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got no bond to Family Circus, so yeah, screw Family Circus.
So the
Final
new,
word.
The New Deal takes place at the famous Waldorf,
Waldorf.
Astoria Hotel in New York in 1936. We follow a bellhop,
I do love any sort with bellhops.
Franklin O'Malley.
Franklin O'Malley, who he's the bellhop of the Waldorf Astoria.
But we meet him selling apples with his grandfather.
No, well, his grandfather, no, his uncle.
Is it his uncle?
Isn't it his uncle? I believe it's his uncle.
He's selling.
He's selling apples. He's
Older
handing
male
out-
family member.
He's handing out.
That's right.
Playbills or tickets
For-
like
flyers,
for
yeah.
for Macbeth.
for Orson Welles' all-black production of Macbeth, which was shocking in 1936. And,
And he's chatting.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
talking up.
and you got to keep in mind as well, Orson Welles is in like his early 20s when he's doing
yeah.
this. This guy, I could go on all day. I could do a whole podcast about Orson Welles.
Because this is pre-War of the Worlds, yeah, or is this after?
36 would have been before that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because War of the Worlds
So
is
before he scared the shit out of the entire country.
This is what gave him the power to do things like War of the Worlds
Right.
and eventually Citizen Kane. Was he just like forever changed theater? And then he was like, then I'll conquer radio and this and that, and this is what he does. He's an innovator and was not appreciated for it at the time.
No.
And as he's handing out these playbills, he's also talking up Teresa, who is one of our other main characters.
Yes.
You can
Who's
tell
a
he's
maid at the
maid at the Waldorf, and he's obviously very infatuated with her.
Mm-hmm.
There's a connection there that he's hoping to establish. It sounds like, and then he gets pulled away right straight to be a bellhop.
Yeah, because he says to his uncle, it's hotel time.
It's hotel time.
And he's got to go work at the Waldorf Astoria.
That should be the tagline for this book. It's hotel time.
It's a hotel time.
Yeah, but so and then we get to go to the Waldorf Astoria, which that's the thing. The scope of it feels so much bigger.
Oh, yeah.
Than
It feels
Dear
very
Creature.
Dunstan checks in.
Yeah, but I think
Because I was, first off, absolutely Rupert Everett's best work ever, hands down. Hands down. The other thing is, I was going to say the hotel being alive the way it is, and the characters in the hotel, the bellhops and the maids and everything, feels for me. I'm going to reference another children's movie, but like Eloise at the Plaza or Eloise at Christmas Time. It's got
Okay.
these. I don't know if
I was
you
thinking
are referencing either.
I
of
was
them.
thinking like Grand Budapest Hotel, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got that feel to it, where these establishments are alive, and
Yes.
it takes so many moving pieces to work.
Yeah.
And he doesn't touch on this a whole bunch in the New Deal, but it's very much implied. And with other works, like the famous Dunstan checks in, you kind of pick
That
up on
classic work.
that. Man, that's such a that
the
movie.
enduring masterpiece that is Dunstan checks in.
I'm just glad I got that reference in.
Put a monkey in a movie, and I'm there. That's
Every Which Way But Loose. I'm just saying. I'm
Yep.
just saying.
Oh, that movie's
maybe
great.
my favorite of his movies.
yeah.
I hope you're kidding. It's not the worst, I'll say that.
But this has maybe a little bit more of an elegance than Dunstan checks
yes,
in.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, not only do we have this famous hotel like the Waldorf Astoria, but the 1936 setting.
Oh, yeah.
Really, this is New York when it
Everything
was
is
New York.
crisp, yeah.
This is
It's not quite roaring 20s, but a few people are still roaring.
Yeah, exactly. But it does feel like
The rest of the country is doing pretty crappy at this point.
Well,
Sure.
that's such an interesting thing to look at is the people who can stay at the Waldorf Astoria at this time are obviously not being heavily affected by the Depression.
Right.
But people
or at all.
Yeah, exactly. Which more people like bellhops and maids definitely have things to worry
Sure.
about and think about in that. So,
Yeah.
Because like his uncle at the beginning of the story is selling the apples for like 1 penny an apple or something like that.
It's yeah, it might be more than that. I'm trying to remember exactly, but and not willing to negotiate with anybody
exactly.
about that. That's very clear
Or
at
it's
the
like
beginning.
10 cents an apple or something.
I think it's 6 cents. I want to say
Something
it's
like
a
that.
weird like random number. It's
Yeah,
not like 5 or 10.
Not willing
or
to
1.
negotiate at all.
Yeah, no negotiations on the prices of apples. But so we also learn when he goes to the Waldorf Astoria that staying there is
Jack Helmer.
Jack Helmer, who is I didn't really go into what he is.
I said he was a mobster.
He doesn't
I said
come off as
he's
a
got
mobster to
some
me, though.
sort of tie to something nefarious.
He's like
he's
a-
collecting.
I'm sure
gambling
he's
debts.
doing. Again, it's not gambling debts. It's one guy who owes him $400.
that lost in a card. He doesn't run a casino. They played cards, and he owes him that money from
I
having
get
lost
that,
cards.
but I get that.
He doesn't like have two
He's a
thugs named
double-breasted
Bugsy and Johnny
suit.
the Scar who said it was going to break your knees if you don't
I mean,
pay
here's
up.
He's got a double-breasted suit and a mustache.
Here's
That's
the thing.
halfway to mobster.
Here's the thing about it. All those business guys were a little bit mobster-like back in the 30s.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're talking.
It's true.
We're talking like William Randolph Hearst and stuff like that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they were nefarious, like not out and out criminals, but I mean, Howard Hughes, Hearst.
They had fingers in bootlegging and all of that crap. That
Well,
was
it's one of the
happening.
reasons they were able to keep their money through all
Right.
this stuff. But he comes off to me as a very like Hughesian kind of.
Gentleman adventurer.
Yeah, millionaire. Where's he been?
little
What's he
eccentric.
collected? There's an air about him when he comes in. I love he brings his own safe because he doesn't trust the things are too valuable. These relics from the Dark Continent and stuff like that. This is a guy who goes on safari and shoots an elephant with a shotgun and stuff like that.
He wrestled a gorilla to the ground.
Right,
And, like,
and almost the mythic millionaire kind of thing that the 1930s had that we just don't possess anymore because we have people like Bill Gates.
when was the last time Bill Gates went and wrestled a gorilla to the ground?
Oh no, he has people to do that. But so in he comes and obviously
We find out that Frank owes him $400.
yeah.
Which is a lot of money in 1936.
It's a lot of money now.
Well, it's
I don't-
some money
it's a
now.
chunk- it's a
Back
chunk of
then
change.
it
It's a chunk.
was-
Yeah, I'm not willing to give $400.
No.
right now for many things.
certainly, but back then it would. I mean, and
comic books.
particularly
Would you do $400 worth of comic books?
I do every month. So it feels like, anyways. I don't know if that's true.
but certainly to a guy like Frank in 1936, $400 is everything.
Oh, it's
I mean,
absolutely
Who's the
everything.
other bellhop? Because he says, I don't make that in 6 months.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, this is
Because Frank's kind of game plan at this point is like, I hope that Helmer has just forgotten about it because he has so much money that like he probably just doesn't even remember.
which the first scene seems to indicate that
Right.
the first interaction between them seems to say that he's like, oh, you thought I love this bit. Oh, you thought I forgot? I didn't forget. Don't think that of me. And he gives him a tip,
Right.
which I love that idea. And so we have in that, and then in comes
Nina
Donovan-
Booth,
Yes, Nina Booth, who's
instant hearts around. Around the head, which that also is a very like cartoonish sort of like pull at this. But what happens is in this iconic time period,
She's the one when she comes through the door, like the guys pound the table
Just-
and give the wolf whistles. And,
Exactly, and because it's the time period and the black and white nature of it and everything, it just feels classic. It feels natural to have those elements in there.
well, it feels like a
Whereas-
movie from that era to a certain extent. These 30s kind of screwball movies and
Yeah.
stuff, where everyone
Where
was
the-
running around hotels
Yep,
and stuff
where
like
the
that.
world goes bonkers when a beautiful woman walks in the room. Like it feels fitting of that time. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel campy. It doesn't feel,
Right,
it's-
no.
and of course, again, it's beautifully drawn, so it's not like somebody.
None of it. Once again, in this, it doesn't feel like he's not parodying anything. It's this loving ode to this kind of bygone era, but at the same time, exposing some of the darkness of that era, which
Yeah.
we certainly see with the overt racism
Yes.
that's in there. As I was reading, I thought this is the most delightful book I've ever seen about like race relations. I mean, at least in
It's
part
up there.
because he doesn't hammer on it. It just sort of is accepted as part of the world, and it's unfortunate that that's the case.
Yeah, because Frank and Teresa kind of like have a thing going on.
She knows that there's something going on. She doesn't push him away, but she's not asking for anything else.
Right.
You know, she's just kind of letting it be this flirtatious, fun interaction.
Frank
with
is
people.
like a white Irish guy, and Teresa's like a black girl in New York trying to work as an actress.
Yeah, exactly.
But while also being a maid at a
And
hotel.
so she's in, and
Which
we didn't
I
say- she's
love
in-
that scene when she's in full costume and makeup at rehearsal for that, and just the text around her is this like explosion, and she's you
When
know
you see
she's
that-
killing it
because
that
you had
she's a
seen-
legitimately amazing actress.
Well, you had seen that before when she's running lines with Frank,
And he's like, how
where,
do you
where
do it?
even not in costume, it's still this explosive. Once again, the way Case draws these expressions are incredible. And
well, the typeset changes even.
yeah, exactly. And you just get this. It's something I never thought about. Like, how do you show somebody?
The lettering changes.
But like being really good at acting in a comic. That doesn't. He did it though.
But it's through the reactions, which again he's so good at, of the other people around.
Right. And then you do get to see her at rehearsal for it.
I
as
just
well.
love. I mean that scene when she's got like she's a witch. She's playing one of the witches, so she's got
Yeah.
like bones and like this tattered.
Well, because it's the voodoo.
It's this voodoo thing, yeah. So she's very much like witch doctor sort of witch. That's just great.
It's great. And then you get to.
And the expression on her face is like she's lost her mind.
I do like that you never see Wells. He's just out in the audience and is but like and being. I mean, if it's not obvious, I'm a Wells super fan and. Hearing that voice clearly, and like I'm like, oh, this sounds like I could picture it. I can hear these directions coming from that regal theatrical voice of his. So yeah, we get that, but then at the center, this is kind of it's a bit of a caper, I would say. It's a caper.
I would
story.
definitely call it a caper.
But I mean that's almost
Perhaps even a boondoggle.
But I mean, like the caper movie or the caper story even feels like kind of old timey to a certain extent. We don't make that many caper movies aside from like when they were making those Ocean's films.
And the Great Muppet.
Well, yes, that was in the 70s, I believe, though.
It's pretty recent.
But I mean, yeah,
I love that movie, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Better than Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good.
Um,
I just had to
Glad
make sure we were on the same page about that. I'm not going to walk away from this table now, but only because of that response. Goni, you're being oddly silent. I know you're from Space Guy.
Sir,
Hey.
sir, I am a Treasure Island guy through and
Yeah,
through.
that's
My ranking
right.
goes Treasure Island, Christmas Carol, Muppet Movie, Great Caper, Take Manhattan, and then Space.
all right, so we're fine.
Space is at the bottom.
I don't like Space.
Whoa.
Space feels weird to me.
All right.
I
well,
love the bear, though.
The bear's always good.
And I love Pepe the King Prong. That's his introduction.
All right, well,
Jeffrey
well,
Tambor's in that movie.
Smoking is
All
bad for
right.
you. Okay.
Okay.
Again,
Muppet
Muppet
cast.
movies are like Marvel movies. I can rank them. That doesn't mean any of them are necessarily bad.
That's true. That's true. I get it.
All right. We'll have
I was
to
just going to
save the
say
rest of
everything
that
I know about
conversation for off mic.
Everything I know about New York and capers came from that movie.
That movie,
so-
yeah. But
That'd be
so
reference.
at the center of this caper, it starts with a. I don't know if I can't remember. She must have a name, but I've forgotten it. The old woman who's dog collar. is
horrible
stolen.
shrew lady. I don't know.
Horrible
Horrible.
I hate that woman.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm talking about them in the most racist character.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Well,
or the other bellhop.
Well, this is my favorite.
Who
this is
just,
my
who
favorite
just casually
image.
drops the N word at one point.
My favorite image in that is when he's making crude comments about her in the elevator to Frank, and he's halfway in the sentence, and then the next panel is the elevator door opening up, and Frank's just laid him clean out. Like he didn't finish the sentence before he just punched out of the elevator.
There are some amazing panel transitions in this comic.
Visually, that was just like, this is perfect. This is just absolutely incredible.
also-
Because you can just imagine the ding. and
Yeah,
it's
it's
like,
just like
drops
and there's
out,
like
yeah.
there's like people standing right there like
Right.
in shock and awe at this bellhop being
and
thrown
then there's this
from
hard switch to them in the manager's
Yeah.
office or whatever. And like, what is going on?
Very
Somebody
filmic.
got this thing stolen. You're punching this guy. What?
Yep.
That guy's whole thing. I love that the whatever the manager of the hotel or whatever. He's just like, we can't keep this. Whole,
Yeah.
This is he's just
How am I supposed to deal with all of these kooky people?
he's
Yep.
just exasperated in every scene. Which
That's
is
But
right.
we've gotten off track a little bit because the caper does open up with this horrible shrew of a woman having her like diamond dog collar stolen.
Oh,
dear. Oh my.
Well, the fact that she has her 2 dogs with her, and I love there's a point where somebody grabs her and she's like, "No, whatever, you'll hurt their breathing or whatever." While you can see that she's squeezing the life out of these dogs.
Yeah.
Because in the text, it's like the dogs are like,
yeah.
and it's
whole
like,
time.
no, they breathe like that. It's like, are your dogs okay, ma'am?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe it's like,
Yeah, which is great. Those again, these great sort of subtle things that he does, and yeah, even the expressions he has on the dogs are great and so detailed and
What are the
funny.
dogs' names? There's something long and ridiculous.
I
It's
don't-
like Sir Paddington Wellesley the Third or something.
Yeah.
It's something like that, yeah, for sure. Which is, of course, it is. And they look, they're little dogs. They're what you would expect.
They're horrible little yappy dogs.
Yeah, but of course, immediately she accuses Teresa of stealing it because she's a horrible shrew woman who's also racist.
Yes.
And the police show up and they go through her cart and everything, and she
Well-
doesn't have it.
Well, and Teresa accuses Frank of stealing it
Because
Because
she knows Frank owes
she-
money.
she knows he knows.
And she
the
saw
money.
him almost steal something earlier in the comic.
Yep.
Well, because he did steal something earlier in the comic. He stole that guy's cigarette case.
He had that guy's cigarette case
Because
There's
he's
a
filling up the cigarettes and he's just holding on to it for longer than maybe he should. Is what's implied. That he was like,
We don't-
well, I've got the cigarette
once again,
case. might as
but
well.
there's also the part where he's going to reach into a jewelry case, and then there's the cigarette case. So there's a
Right.
couple things where you see that Frank might have the mindset to steal.
He's so desperate, though.
Right.
You don't think he's like, oh, he's a cold, hard criminal.
Well, he didn't eat any teenagers, so
It's true.
Gorgoni's fine with him.
That's right.
I'm more fine with him because he didn't eat anybody. It's true. Sue me for that.
So yeah. So we have this back and forth with him and Teresa of like, well, I didn't steal it, and well, I didn't steal it either, and so wait, you must have stolen it. And he never believes that she stole it, which
No.
which is
Frank has always got Teresa's back.
Oh, yeah.
throughout the book, mostly because he's holding such a torch for her. It's not even funny.
Well, she is pretty awesome. Like
Yeah,
I
it's
totally
true.
get it. So we get this whole thing, but she thinks he stole it, which
Yeah.
is interesting, and creates tension.
And then Teresa's job is saved when Nina
Yes,
requests her to be her personal maid.
yeah. Nina, I
She has
love-
like an interest in that, early on.
Nina Booth is a character that characters like that don't really exist in stuff anymore. I feel like she is a product of 1930s pop culture. This like brassy dame who kind of
The term "brassy dame" isn't really used anymore.
well,
no.
they also I love in the book I also love that everyone keeps commenting on Teresa's nice gams. Which there's not a ton of that kind of 30s talk in this because it would be
Right.
very easy to just fill the whole book with that.
Yeah.
I think he does a good job of keeping it period, but not like indulging in the
Sure.
But I mean, it's that same type of woman that like in movies like His Girl Friday or
Yeah.
these kind of things like what Lois Lane was born out of to a certain extent. These women who just
who are more of like a force of nature. They're these force of personalities that can sweep into a room and everyone's immediately
Catherine Hepburn.
I was
going
going
to
to say,
characters
exactly.
if this was a movie, it would be Katharine Hepburn
right.
as Nina.
There's just like regal women who just come in and command things, and you're just
Yeah,
like,
that-
whoa, I'm
that
gonna,
they're elegant, but they're sassy, and they're they can hold their own in a fight. Like,
right. Which the more we learn about Nina, the more we definitely see
Yeah.
how much she's capable of things and
Yeah.
of handling herself in situations.
So she procures Teresa to be her maid, saving her job.
Yep.
And then Teresa helps her at a party in which she's talking about all these extravagant things that are happening.
Yeah, I love this whole idea that every time she's in these high society situations, and then immediately will turn around and be like, "Oh, these people."
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we find out why later. Definitely.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's Tom Selleck from Friends.
Wow, we're making all kinds of references.
I'm
on
just
this
saying.
episode.
It's Robert. That's,
Yeah.
is Robert in it? I think his
I
name.
don't know.
Richard.
Richard, thank you, John.
Yeah.
There's Richard in there.
I'm not hard up on my friend's lore.
Yeah, what are you
Really?
doing, man?
Sorry.
Yeah.
That you are going to
I've
be
been
lost
watching
on this
a
podcast.
lot of Friends lately.
On this podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
All the Friends talk.
Ooh, it's gonna get worse.
Yeah. There's only going to be more Friends talk
It's
from here
gonna
on.
get worse.
Could I have seen less Friends?
My situation lends to a lot of Friends right now.
Yes, I'm aware.
Yeah, John's my roommate. He knows.
Yeah, there's a lot of Friends on, but so
Or is
yeah.
it making you go through all of Friends?
Yes.
I didn't want to. I mean, it's a fun show. It would not be my choice of show, but it's a fun show.
It's a fun show.
So we'll see my sanity at the end of 10 seasons. We're in the middle of the second one right now.
I was going to say,
so
yeah, you guys are still early.
We'll
so.
crawl through that with me. So as I said, it might be getting more references before we get fewer references.
Start a new feature on the podcast of Donovan's sanity meter as he plows through
That's
Friends.
right.
That's right.
So many.
No,
one-liners.
it's fun, and they're learning how to edit the show better, which is really nice.
Right
That
now
first
we're only
season
at
is-
2 Joeys out of 5.
Yeah,
so.
that's right. Yeah, and then there's the spin-off show Joey that was.
Yo,
You gotta watch that too.
you got to go through both seasons of that.
I don't know if Bridget knows that exists.
Ooh, we're gonna have to correct that, John.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Let me get her on the horn.
Cut A2 Brute.
No. So back to the New Deal, though.
Right, that.
So there's this. You sort of questioning, like as I was reading, I was questioning, like, what does Nina see in Teresa? That's, I mean, like, there's this kind of thing because she goes out of her way to help Teresa.
Here's my thought on this.
Okay.
She uses her as an attention getter.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When people are like, oh, why is that person her maid? Or something goes missing at a party, they're going to assume it's her first, or there's going to be something else that they're not going to suspect Nina, especially when she went out of her way to be this kind person to her.
Sure.
I think it's
I thought there was also a bit of a personal connection there because
You think so?
Teresa shows a bit of spunk,
Oh,
That's
yeah.
true.
especially in front of like the management of the hotel.
Yeah, it's true.
So when Nina sees that, she's like, "Oh, this is a gal who's up my alley."
Brassy
And you-
dame.
He is a brassy dame. The other thing
Just
that's
a couple
kind
of brassy dames.
the other thing
That was
that's
the alternate title.
Yeah.
The New Deal or a couple of brassy dames.
Please do not call that this episode.
the other thing is it's kind of assumed that Nina maybe didn't come from money. I mean, that
Oh, I think
she's-
that's definitely the case.
and so maybe
There's a bit
she's
of
kind of
a bit of a Catwoman vibe.
yeah.
Now that you saying it after the fact, this is like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because let's jump ahead a little bit. It is revealed that Nina is.
Once again, spoiler.
Yeah.
This is a new comic that's out there, so you should be reading it.
We said that at the beginning of the episode, John.
Yeah.
Nina is a burglar. She's like a high profile
Yeah.
con artist and thief, which we find out at the very end of the book. It was such a weird oh shit kind of.
Well, we
moment
find
in the
out
book.
well before that she's stealing stuff
Yeah,
because
definitely.
they find that pretty, about halfway through.
Yeah,
And just putting it in her rat cage.
that
Yeah.
was weird.
That was a little weird.
It's like,
Oh.
why a rat?
But then the trained rat, you see why a rat later.
Yeah, that's true.
The rat gets her out of some sticky situations.
Oh, man.
She and
The
that
thing
rat.
about
Once
this-
again, I want to read more comics about this woman and her rat.
It's a Ratatouille situation. I feel
yeah.
like.
the thing about this
Ratatouille
comic,
with larceny, way better.
that's what that movie was
I
missing.
know, yeah.
Too
Forget
much
cooking.
too much marinara. That's right.
Yeah.
The thing about this comic though is the first issue is beautiful and captivating, but kind of slowly paced, and then it
Oh, it's
ends,
definitely a
and
slow
then it
burn.
ends with, Jack Helmer being like, "By the way, you still owe me all that money."
Right.
And then the pace picks up, and then it just explodes. And the end of this, like, you read the last 3 sections of it all at once, like one sitting, because it just moves.
I'll say this about both books. They're both really easy to consume. I definitely read both Dear Creature and The New Deal in one sitting.
Me too.
They move real quick.
And Dear Creature takes a little bit more just because of the iambic pentameter, and I feel like it's a little denser in content.
I feel like both of them zip along. For
Oh, yeah.
sure.
But
and
man,
they're
New
really,
Deal just like rides right along.
in that 1930s style of like
Yeah.
it's this kind of rat-a-tat patter, and you just it just goes. It's, I mean, those movies of that era and those stories sort of just moved along at that clip.
Sure, yeah.
This does and it's so much fun.
It's like
such
you're heading on the trolley going downtown.
right, exactly. Well, it's such a fun world to live in
Yeah.
of like Manhattan and 36 and stuff. You know what I mean? Like obviously there was not a lot of
What's
people
that song
who
like?
weren't.
Ba-ba-ba-ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. What's that song called? The like
I didn't get it from that.
Oh,
Rhapsody in Blue. by
Yeah, I've
George
heard that song
Gershwin.
playing the whole time while I was reading this book.
But then there's also the whole
I
thing.
got you. Okay. Sorry, it took a second.
You're picking up what I'm putting down.
I got it, yeah.
Throughout the book, Frank
We have
keeps
now
singing.
17 minutes of Rhapsody in Blue by Gorgoni and myself. John just leaned away, took a deep breath, composed himself.
Okay. I was going to say, Frank throughout the book keeps singing Putting on the Ritz, too.
That's true.
But he doesn't know the words.
No, he does
and
not.
I love that.
So this
he's
sounds like
he's
da,
young
da, da.
Frankensteining it.
Da, 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 da,
Young
da,
Frankenstein knew the words better than him.
That's true.
Putting on the Ritz. You know,
Yeah.
and everything is like, which feels, it's such a nice little touch.
Well, and it's funny that like the idea that that's such a song that's permeated through our culture, and at that time it was like a new on the radio. Not everybody knew the words.
The
and
top 40 hit.
with Ryan Seacrest. He was doing it back then, I think.
There were only the 40 songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, top 40. It was just the order of the 40.
Well,
as
when we
long
get
as-
more songs, we'll add more.
Yeah.
For as long as there's been popular songs, there's been Seacrest. He just
Seacrest.
yeah. Hey,
Man
K-
Bang Rock.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, cave people, coming to you live.
Seacrest out.
Somehow, even then, he had frosted tips.
Always.
It was literally Frost.
Yeah, it was literally Frost. That was how he's
Ice
doing.
Age was rough.
But the music was so hot. So we get the shenanigans, and I mean we don't need to go into each and every detail. People should pick up the book, obviously, but we get. I mean, the end of this book is very much this fun caper with all the how are they going to escape.
Frank
from
and
things
Teresa and Nina all getting wrapped up in this big caper because Frank and Teresa have like accidentally stumbled into Nina's big like she's stealing from all of these rich people.
And so then they figure if we sell this, it's already stolen. So they're sort of making it themselves about we can get money without.
But the
being-
police knew that, and they,
yeah, I love the idea that the pawn shop owner was like it was a plant.
the
and
police
stuff.
in this book are super competent.
Yeah, it's
They
the
are.
exact opposite of Dear Creature.
Right up until they aren't, though.
yeah,
Because
but
at the very end, Nina's like, "Oh my, a rat! Whatever shall I
well,
do?"
and that's where the hearts come back into play. Of like,
Yeah.
these guys are big strapping heroes until a beautiful woman walks in, and then it's like,
Well, then they kind of are still trying to be. Well, we're big strapping heroes. We'll protect the woman.
Yeah,
from
exactly.
the terrible rat.
Well, and I love another one of my favorite things is when Frank goes to talk to Teresa after a play rehearsal, and he's like, "We could get away. Like we've got a couple $1,000. Like we can get away." And he meets.
I love that scene when she meets him and he's like, "Well, we only got four. You only got four. We got $4,000.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're like freaking out. And you see how much, and then you see back at the hotel how that's like no amount of money to these people.
Right.
But I love he meets that.
Because the thing is
it-
actually worth like 60,000.
Yeah, exactly. But is it Teresa's dad or brother? He meets somebody
I think
who's
it's
his-
just,
I thought
think
it was another cast.
or just-
Yeah, it was just one of the other actors.
who might be dating. I mean, there's some interest because
Yeah.
he's very nervous. I love the line. He's like, "Oh, Teresa's told me a lot about you, and also your boxing career." Like
Yeah.
that's how he knows about this guy. Is like, and also you could beat me to a pulp
Right,
in
right.
like half a second. I just love the delivery of that line is just beautiful.
Or that you had in your head.
what?
The delivery of the line.
Yeah, Teresa's told me a lot about you and your boxing career.
That's what I'm saying.
The delivery of the line that I had in my head.
I know,
yes.
which but I'm saying. That's
You guys didn't buy the audio version of this?
Have
I'm
you
saying-
guys noticed that? There's another weird digression, but like audio versions of comic books that have been coming out recently?
No. Why?
I don't know. It's just something I've been noticing cropping up recently.
Do you like comics, but those pesky pictures get in the way?
Well, that reminds me of like
Is there more audio companions to
you know
the comic
Sure.
books?
those old books that you like play the music to, and then you turn the page in the chapter, and then you hit the next track. Like
Yeah.
that's what that would remind
Shadows
me
of the Empire.
Yes.
Yeah. Only novel I've ever read that had a score. But
I also I
oh yeah,
love,
but that's what I was going to say is that's another
So-
great thing about Case's work is the fact that to you there was a delivery to that because of how expressive those drawings are.
and I mean the way he writes and the way he draws, like just everything about that is such a clear picture.
Yeah.
And does Nina has a jetpack, right?
Okay, that was something that actually threw me with the book. Is like, okay, we get revealed that Nina is some kind of
A
super
thief.
thief. But when she shows up in her thief getup, it's some futuristic, like Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. level.
It's pretty cool.
No, it's a cat suit with gadgets on it. I don't know that it's futuristic.
I thought it looked like we just stepped into a weird sci-fi story all of a sudden.
No, I don't know that there's a sci-fi angle to it. I took that as more of like she was repelling up the building.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Than a
jetpack. I mean, the
Jetpack.
Rocketeer. We know that was happening.
Yeah, but I
Good old
don't.
Pumpkinhead.
I really wouldn't fit. I don't think what he was going
No,
for.
I
here.
realized that, but for
yeah.
a moment I was just like, "What is happening?"
I thought it was awesome. I'm like, cool. She's got like a cat suit.
She's
and stuff.
yeah,
And
she's
more
so
Catwoman.
You meet her and you realize she's stealing all this stuff, and it's like, oh, she's so cool. And then she shows up in that getup, and you're like, oh, she's so cool.
Yeah.
And then you see her dupe the cops, and you're like, this is the coolest person ever.
Yep.
Like I want to see her crossing over with the Shadow. You know,
It would totally fit. Yeah,
I know it would be awesome.
because it is that. She almost does come out of that like pulp kind
Yeah.
of
Oh yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
That's what kind of threw me. Was just like we're having this bouncing hijinks kind of a thing, and then suddenly she's like, "Oh yeah, and I'm also a super thief."
yeah,
Not just a thief, I'm a super thief.
yeah, for sure.
I will like cut into safes. I will steal everybody's stuff, and I have a trained rat to help me get me out of situations.
Yep. Which the rat the whole time I was like, what is the rat? And then at the end when it goes back into the I'm just that's brilliant. The rat's like her sidekick.
Right.
That's super awesome. It's such a fun book. It's just so much fun. I can't recommend it enough. Really, like I said,
yeah.
I love Dear Creature. This though was so, like I said, it's just so up my alley of this tone and era and style of it.
Yeah. I love them both too, but I think
yeah.
I lean more towards New Deal in terms of just like this one immediately grabbed me.
Yeah, it's
Also, really just can't get over the fact that Gru killed and ate a bunch of people.
See, that didn't bother me. Again,
You know what's interesting? I didn't really think about it either.
I know. I couldn't stop.
Again, because you see him. Oh, we didn't talk about this in New Deal, but when he's captured, and then the way he breaks out of this cage.
You mean in Dear Creature?
What did I
Yeah,
say?
You said in New Deal.
I'm like, I don't remember.
You guys-
The
When
part
did
where
he-
Frank is captured by those scientists and then has to
Yeah,
break
yeah.
out of the cage.
This
It's
is
like, I'm free.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
issue of recording after a
Great
long
part.
workday.
Yeah.
But no, in Dear Creature, when he's trapped and he doesn't have enough strength to get out until this couple start making out right in front
Yeah.
of his
Right.
his tank, and then he can just rip out, and they're just so terrified because the guy makes that line. He's like, "Oh, I would love to be there to see the look of horror on these teenagers' faces," and then he jumps out of the cage, and that's what they get. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it's great.
It's super fun. Both books are super fun.
They're really great.
Both books are available. Dear Creature you can definitely get on Amazon.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really see it in bookstores much
No.
anymore, unfortunately. We can bring it back.
But yeah, you can definitely buy it on Amazon. That's where I bought it. And
But-
New Deal is available all
can
over the place.
Find it at your
Go
local
to your local
book
comic
store.
shop.
Yeah, absolutely. And get it. It's super awesome. And it's an affordable oversized hardcover, which I thought was really
It was like
nice.
$17 or something.
Yeah. I think it's $69.9, which is great.
And it also, the beautiful thing about that is the way it reads and the way he brings these characters to life. Somebody who's never read a comic before could easily pick
Oh,
this
yeah.
up.
Yep.
There's not a backstory you have to get into. There's, it just goes through, and it's
Are
beautiful.
you aware of 1936 America?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
let's go.
And even
now, if
then,
somebody says no, then
well, but you
there
don't,
might
even
take some
have to, you don't even have to
explanation.
know that.
I think we could put the comics aside and hand them some other books.
Yeah, exactly.
To start with.
Yeah, that's right.
Have you ever watched or listened to The Century? Because that's
Yeah.
a good place to start.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Ken Burns might be able to help you out a little bit.
Yeah, there's some other. The school system has clearly failed this person.
But I mean, it's this beautiful book. People, again, it's fun to read. It's really
It's so much
easy
fun.
to read. It looks great on a coffee table.
Yeah,
I mean, you put it on your coffee table, your friends think you're really smart. You know,
Yeah.
you put Batman on your coffee table, people think that they should look out.
Batman's all over my coffee table.
It's true.
Which is interesting because Batman being the world's greatest detective, you would think that would.
I know.
lend yourself more to
It's the
intelligence, but
perception. We're
yeah,
not going into it
okay.
now. We're not going into it now.
Anyway, check out both of these books. Like you
Yes.
said, they're available. Get
And the
them,
other Jonathan
read it.
Case stuff. Batman
And-
66.
Green River Killer.
Green River Killer.
Super fun stuff. I haven't read Green River Killer. It doesn't actually sound that fun, but I'm sure it's great, and I will read it. Definitely after reading both of these back to back, I'm like I'm desperate to
Jonathan
get anything
Case
else that
kick.
guy's done. Yeah.
Also, and this is something you don't need to know, but we met him. We've met him twice now.
A couple of times, yeah.
He is one of the nicest people.
Absolutely.
Like, we went to his signing party and he's holding a baby. Like, that was awesome.
Well, we didn't see him drop it later.
Well, no, but that's fine. I mean, he was great. He was engaging people.
He was super nice. He was
signing them.
nice enough to invite us to that
Yeah.
release party. Yeah, he was signing stuff.
Just- it
There
was
was a
just-
woman there who had carved a pumpkin with this cover on it.
It was
the
really
New Deal
beautifully
cover.
rendered. And he was just chatting with her, hanging out.
Just chatting with everybody. Super.
What I thought was
nice
super
guy.
impressive was apparently like he knew the owners of the establishment and he'd done that big mural.
Oh, that's the other thing I was going to
That
say.
was super cool.
Is we were.
I say like I was there. Donovan, you just showed me the picture.
Sure, a picture. We went into this Ex Nova Brewing. Go to there. It's in Portland. It's
Awesome place.
Really cool. A little out of the way, but really, really cool. On the menu is a plate full of bacon. You can legitimately buy a plate full of
What?
bacon, and it was great bacon.
I really regret not going now.
So we're walking up the
Damn,
steps
my
to
schedule.
this upstairs where this event was, and there's this awesome. It's this robot out of commission being tuned up by like a Rosie the Riveter type woman.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. Like
Yeah.
the color, like just everything about it is just gorgeous. And we're standing there talking, and I look into the corner of it, and I realize it says Jonathan Case.
Because you said how awesome is that mural? I'm like, that mural's super awesome. And then you came up to me later and you're like, he did that mural.
And I look, and this is like 15-foot mural. He did. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a man of many talents,
Oh.
obviously.
This is
But-
well, you can go actually if you go on his website, you can look at his paintings, which are
They're
gorgeous.
great. Oh, and you can also, I think, probably still through Ex Novo, he designed one of the labels for a beer bottle.
Yes, he did. Dynamic
Dynamic
Duo.
IPA. Yeah.
Oh, I've had that. It's good.
That's him. He drew that.
He drew that label.
I can't speak to label, but the beer was good.
Well,
The label is super fun too.
yeah. So he's a cool guy. He's a man of many talents. If
We're
you
big
see his
fans.
name on a book, just buy it.
Absolutely.
I've never regretted that. I've never regretted reading something that he's
no.
done.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's
that. That is that. We do love Jonathan Case.
Case closed.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew somebody would make a case pun.
I didn't. It wasn't me.
And it
Surprise to the audience.
That was the biggest surprise.
Listeners. Audience?
Yeah, it could be both.
I mean, they're odd.
They're an audience. We've said we're live, right?
Yeah.
From Hollywood, California, America.
From Hollywood, yeah. From Burbank. Here we are.
From scenic Portland, Oregon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. It's Saturday night. You're only allowed to listen to this on Saturday night. It comes out Tuesday, but listen to it on Saturday
Yeah,
night.
that's the thing.
How would they know that until they listen through this podcast? At the
Have you
very
been
end?
doing it wrong the whole time? For shame, listeners. For shame.
Yeah, they should have already known that.
Don't you read the liner notes?
You should. So as we wrap that up, we turn now to the way we end every show with our recommendation segment where we recommend comics we think you should be reading.
Besides the two that we just recommended.
I know this whole episode's basically a recommendation episode.
Honestly, if you could just read these 2 books.
Yeah. We just recommend Jonathan Case the man. He's a delight.
Have more Jonathan Case in your life.
It's true. I could not
No,
agree
it's-
more with that. Grigoni, what do you want people to read this week?
Oh, what do I want them to read this week?
And we check back in, by the way, to make sure they do. And if they don't, there's going to be trouble.
I would like to recommend a book of a guy I met actually at Rose City Comic Con a little while back.
Okay.
Ben Fluter is his name. I believe that's how I say his last name. I apologize, Ben, if you're listening to this.
It's Fluter or Floyder?
Yeah, oof. We do this every time.
You say, what do you say?
Fluter?
I say Floyder.
Okay. We might both be wrong.
We might both be. I hope it's way wrong.
Flouters.
It's actually pronounced Chavez.
That's right. That's much we know.
Rick Chavez.
right. But it's written as Ben Fluter.
Yeah.
Rick Chavez.
But
Yes.
the book is called Derelict.
Yes.
It's actually started as a webcomic. I'm always a big proponent of
Yes,
those
it
webcomics. But I bought the first collected volume, which he actually did a Kickstarter to help create. It's a lovely book called Derelict. It's about kind of a post-apocalyptic future in which after the ice caps have melted, it released this horrible eldritch fog that started like mutating Earth's creatures and environments, and also, may or may not have released the Elder Gods. So, Cthulhu stuff, I'm always a fan of.
I was going to say, I already know why you're recommending this book.
But it's also a really good
Oh,
book.
I'm sure. But I understand what would draw you to it.
The art in it is gorgeous. There's whole pages. Like, I love when artists do the whole, like, silent pages and just visual storytelling, and they do a lot of that in this. We follow a young woman named Dang Thu Mai.
That you sure about the pronunciation of?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Pretty positive. And she's like a scavenger in this world because
Yeah.
the whole world is like covered in oceans. There's not a lot of landmass anymore.
Right.
So she's trolling around in her boat, like picking up scavenge
So,
and trying
Waterworld.
to. It's a little Waterworldy with Cthulhu, so I'm totally on board.
That's the one thing Waterworld was missing.
Pretty much, in my opinion.
Fishman Kevin Costner, and he needed a Cthulhu.
Yeah, pretty much. So we're kind of following her around. She's avoiding stuff, picking up salvage. the story doesn't really have an ending because it's just the first volume and it continues
Right.
online. It updates once or twice a week.
So this is like what, like the first
This is like the first, I guess, book 1 of the
of
series.
that. So and then it's there's more of it.
There's
as you
more
go
of it
on.
online, yeah. But the collected edition we have here, that I have here, is actually super cool because it goes in depth to a lot of like the world building stuff he has in the back. The creatures that have been like mutated are called miasmics because the weird eldritch fog is referred to as the miasma. And he goes into a lot of like their culture and like their physiology in the back. That's super cool. There's also a really interesting written language that he has as how they speak. So if you'll notice, like here, some of the weirder creatures speak in this like strange, in their like speech bubbles, they have these like weird symbols as how they talk. And so there's like a breakdown in the back of the book of like how you interpret those symbols. It's a super cool, like the fact that he's put this much thought into all of this storytelling and stuff is just super cool, and I always enjoy that sort of stuff.
Right.
So yeah, Derelict by Ben Fluter is what I recommend.
Very cool. Writer and artist there.
Yeah.
Nice. Donovan.
2 things to recommend.
Okay.
I tweeted this a couple weeks ago, but one of my coworkers and his wife make the coolest light switch covers.
Yes.
They take old comics and they Mod Podge them into just, I mean, they're like
Say that term one more time.
Mod Podge?
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's like a craft adhesive and coating.
Okay, fair enough.
Kind of like
Not familiar.
like a
I've heard it, but I never knew what it meant until right now. So.
well, there
I
you
just been
go.
like, Mod Podge. That's a thing.
You guys don't know
Then I moonwalk out of the room.
I'm just it's like a layman's shellac.
Okay. Layman's Shellac is my 1930s like big band music cover band.
Yeah. Oh, did you guys open for the Brassy Dames?
yeah,
the other
we
day?
did.
Yeah. Anyways, they have an Etsy shop
You guys
now.
are pretty good.
Yeah, they're really good. They have an Etsy shop called For Once Crafts, spelled like you would think it would be spelled. And they have, like I said, the coolest. They've got a Batman one, a Wonder Woman one, a couple Robins.
They're really awesome.
They've got a double one right now with Spider-Man, Venom, and Carnage that is just really cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is kind of a personal plug, but they're really awesome.
They are. No, they're super awesome. I don't know them at all. And I think they're awesome.
You should.
So,
yeah, you should just check it out.
Yeah.
And
Do they have something for my dimmer switches? I have many dimmer switches.
you know, I believe on their Etsy they talk
do
about
have a lot.
if you.
You do have a lot of dimmer switches.
There are. We're
I wasn't
looking at them
joking.
right
I
now.
know. I just looked around. I'm like, why is everything need to dim in
I
here?
think there's been talk
I
about
like a low light, John.
to advancing the dimmer, but also an idea that you could maybe send them a light switch cover that you could cover. And there's
Some
anyways.
people have those toggle switches.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
make it
I think they're branching out, but right now they've got singular and
This
double.
isn't a toggle home, John. This is a dimmer switch home.
Yep, it's true. Anyways, For Once Crafts, you should check them out. They're really awesome.
they're super cool.
If you buy something, send them a note or send us a note or something. And we
For
love to-
F-O-R or F-O-U-R?
F-O-R.
Okay.
For Once, like For Once in My Life by Stevie Wonder, which is the inspiration
Specifically,
for the whole
all right.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a comic as well?
I also do have a comic that I have kind of fanboyed about on the show a bit, but I don't think I've ever formally recommended
Okay.
it. So
Rachel Rising.
It is Rachel Rising.
He's only
What
recommended
else?
it, like,
It
6
is
times
Habibi. It is Cowboy Ninja Viking. It is the broken record named Donovan is what it is. No, but it is the Brides of Helheim. So Helheim, Colin Bunn and Joel Jones, just awesome Viking story.
Yeah.
We got to talk to Joel about her love for Viking stories. Brides of Helheim is the follow-up to that, and it takes place years later after the Draug. Gorgon, you correct? It's not Draugr.
The Draug.
The Draug has kind of subdued the witches that you get in the first book, and it is they have to face off a new evil, and there's Valkyries and bears and all kinds of
Bears?
You had me at bears.
there. I should have led with bears.
I was like, Valkyries. Bears?
All right, we're gonna take this back. I'm just gonna say, Brides of Helheim. It's got bears.
Oh, man.
Anyways, it's by Colin Bunn and
we're
Joel
there.
Jones again.
That's actually the selling
I
point.
loved
There's people
Helheim.
involved.
I like Brides of Helheim better. I don't think it's out in a trade yet. I just have all the issues.
I don't think it is out in the
But
trade.
man, is it good! And her art just flows, and the fight sequences, and the renderings of these Nordic people. Man, it's so good.
Joel Jones also extremely talented as well. As Jonathan Case and stuff.
Yeah. I love the original Helheim, so I'm excited to read
Brides of Helheim.
Yeah,
like I said,
it's super fun.
I like it better. So
Awesome.
John, what do you got?
This is also something we've a little bit talked about, although it's now a new entry in it, as if we don't need to talk, or as if we need to talk more about Snyder and Capullo's Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to recommend Batman Endgame, which has now been collected in a hardcover trade.
Cool.
that's volume 7.
Volume 7 of the Snyder Capullo run. Man, if you thought they went crazy before, they're off the chains now.
Now, I know a little bit about Endgame,
This is
but I haven't read it yet.
Okay, so I mean the plot is the Joker, as it says on the back, the Joker's back, and this time he's not joking.
Oh, shit.
The Joker is done with Batman.
Oh, no.
We're not playing around anymore. It's like after Death of the Family. If you're not going to accept what I offered there, then you're going to die, and everything you care about is going to burn.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, it's basically an apocalyptic Joker story.
Awesome.
He's written the last Joker story, really.
Interesting.
I don't know where you go from this. I know I have not read any of the stuff now with Gordon as Batman and things like that he's doing. Obviously now I'm sure. He's Snyder. It's Snyder and Capullo. They're doing amazing stuff with it.
They do Batman.
But this is crazy, just huge, and man, I can't even. I don't want to say it too much about it because people should read it.
I hope you don't, because I would kill you because I want to read it.
But it is amazing. It's another just incredible Batman story from these guys who are doing incredible things with this character. And like I said, we talk about him all the time. It comes up almost every episode, the Snyder Capullo run.
Yeah.
But this
not
time
for long. We're going to be done with it here soon. You know?
Yeah.
I guess we'll reference back to it.
But yeah, so pick up Batman Endgame.
Reference bat to it.
Bat to it. That's what I said.
So yes, Batman Endgame.
Severe lack of puns in this episode. I'm trying to make up.
We'll add them all in at the end.
But you can pick up everywhere.
Cool.
It was on a bestsellers table at Barnes
Even
and Noble.
the cover creeps me out.
It's the It's now
that like pale, like just ghostly Joker really
holding the cut off face
Yeah.
from Death of the Family.
Oh man.
I love the way that Snyder writes the Joker. And yeah, I've talked about it on here before that I've heard interviews with him. He's just the devil.
Yeah.
And this is not that spoiler, but I'll say that he goes into that specifically in this comic about what is the Joker.
Interesting.
Like, the idea of
it's more than just a man; it's a force,
right?
In the same way Batman has sort of become.
Yeah, exactly. This is the mythic nature of the Joker.
Interesting.
This sort of enduring chaos and evil that is
cool.
Yeah, it's like I said, like everything they've done, it's just incredible.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to reading it.
So yeah, go out and pick up Batman Endgame and also check out Derelict and Brides of Helheim. Which you can get
and Dear Creature
and
New Deal
Batman
66.
I don't know if you can get the first volume of Derelict online. I haven't looked, but I know you can read it all at his website.
Cool.
Which I should probably just.
But it looks
good.
beautiful.
It is
being collected like this. It's really awesome.
Oh yeah.
I actually don't know his website off the top of my head now. I'm super apologetic. But if you just look up Derelict the comic, I'm sure you can find it.
Or Ben
Fluter.
Yep.
Rick Chavez.
Fleuter. I don't know how else you'd say that.
Yep. We're gonna go with Fluter.
It's Rick Chavez.
Rick Chavez.
or type in Rick Chavez. And see
I don't think that'll get you there. I really don't.
See what comes up.
Probably
I don't know.
We're making more fun of the way we pronounce names on here than
we should.
The name.
Oh yeah, we're not making fun of Ben Flute. Is the
great guy. Again, met him at Rose City.
I'm sure. But we are terrible with people's names. So I think that's going to do it for this week's episode for Panel on. Oh, I should also mention where you can get in contact with us, though.
Oh, right, because we are also people on the internet.
We're so busy plugging other people's stuff that we forget to plug ourselves sometimes. We are on Twitter. We're at Panel on Panels. We're on Facebook as Panel on Panels. Oh, let's see. Where else are we?
If you'd like to contact us directly, you can email us at panelonpanels@gmail.com.
Yes, you can do that. We're also on Instagram.
Also that thing.
Pinterest. We got anything else?
Not at the moment, but search Panel on Panels
Friendster,
podcast, and you'll find a lot of stuff.
LinkedIn,
eHarmony.
We're on
We're on
eHarmony.
eHarmony.
But yeah, if you wanted, but you have to date the podcast collectively.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Like a three-headed giant scenario.
yeah.
Yeah.
We all take turns with one word at a time between the three of us.
Well, and we also
the dates take a long time, but we're pretty good company.
Yep. Until you say who's Batman, and then it's just like, well,
Right.
And then it's just silence with all three heads.
can we drive you home? Something I wanted to mention though is we had some great Twitter stuff going on after our dream recommendations, or not our dream recommendations, adaptations episode.
Yes.
People pitching us movies and stuff on Twitter that were great.
We also, I believe, continue the argument of Stallone v. Schwarzenegger as
Look,
Batman.
I'm
That's
saying
right.
hashtag Schwarzenegger is my Batman.
And I will re-up hashtag Stallone for Batman.
Yep. Well, somebody did mention Dr. Johnny Lycan on Twitter said Stallone, Tim Burton Batman versus Nick Cage. Or sorry, Stallone. What am I thinking? Who is that director? Because it was Nick Cage,
Tim Burton, Superman.
Yeah.
versus Stallone. Oh, who's that director? Oh no,
Was it
Stallone Batman?
Ridley Scott?
Yes.
Was it? There was another Ridley Scott one. There were so many great ones.
Yeah.
Well, there's a
I
lot of great
apologize.
ones, folks.
You should just check them out. And again, if you have, if you like our recommendations, or if you hate something we said, or if you want to buy us ice cream, just tweet at us. We'll figure it all
Especially
out.
that last one.
Especially the
Also,
last
if you
one.
want to
I'm
rate and
going
review
broke.
us on iTunes and
Oh, we'd love that.
Stitcher, that would be great. Throw
Man,
us
we'd
all
like
the
that.
stars. That would be
Yeah.
amazing.
It
Yeah.
really helps.
All the stars.
You hear this on every podcast you listen to, unless this is the only one, and then I guess it's still true because that's how math works. But the 5-star rating and a nice review really does help. Not
Really does.
only does it make us feel better, but it also gets us more visibility. Mm-hmm. And
And
it's
more visibility for us means more of the show and better show.
yeah,
and
we're able to produce better episodes and spend more time on.
If you like it when we have guests on the show, that will help us get more guests, I'm sure.
Yep. And the other thing is, if you're too shy to tell your friends you listen to a comic book podcast, but you just rate and review on iTunes, it's like the same thing because people are gonna find us either way. So
Cool. So for Panel on Panels this week, I've been John Campbell.
I am currently Mike Gargoni.
and I will always be Donovan Eilert.
Keep reading comics, everybody.